Oh my goodness. I hope.
Judy! Judy!
I'm sure she'll be all right.
Did you run into her?
No, no. Judy fell off the bridge.
Our baby. What has happened to her?
Judy's going to be all right.
This way. We're Judy's aunt and she lives with us. We are bringing her up. Who are you?
I'm Nancy Drew. I'm glad to know you.
I want to apologize to you, Nancy, for thinking you hit Judy. I guess Edna and I lost our heads. You see, Judy is very precious to us. We brought up her mother, who had been an only child and was orphaned when she was a little girl. The same thing happened to Judy. Her parents were killed in a boat explosion 3 years ago. The poor little girl has no close relatives, except Edna and me.
Judy looks very healthy and happy, so I'm sure she must love it here.
We do the best we can on our small income. Sometimes it just doesn't suffice though. We sold some old furniture to the 2 men in that van you saw. I don't know who they were, but I guess the price was all right.
She's so little now that Edna and I are able to manage with our small income. But we worry about the future. We're dressmakers, but our fingers aren't so nimble with the needle as they used to be. To tell you the truth, Nancy, at the time Judy's parents were killed, Edna and I wondered whether we would be able to take care of Judy properly. But we decided to try it, and now we wouldn't part with her for anything in the world. She's won our hearts completely.
Unfortunately, Judy's parents left very little money. But they were extremely bright people and Judy is going to be like them. She ought to study music and dancing, and have a college education. But I'm afraid we'll never be able to give her those things.
Judy may be able to win a scholarship, or get other financial aid.
A cousin of our father's named Josiah Crowley used to help us. But he passed away a couple of months ago. For years he used to pay us long visits and was very generous with his money. He always promised to remember us in his will. He loved little Judy, and I am afraid Edna and I came to depend on that in our plans for her. But he did not carry out his promise. Josiah went to live with some other cousins. After that, things changed. He rarely came to see us. But he was here just last February and said the same thing, that Edna and I were to inherit money from him. He had always helped us and it seemed strange that he should stop so suddenly.
Maybe you know our well-to-do cousins that he went to stay with. They live in River Heights. They're the Richard Tophams.
Do they have 2 daughters named Ada and Isabel? If so, I know them.
That's the family all right. Do you like those 2 girls?
Ada and Isabel were in high school with me. They were never my close friends. We but didn't see eye to eye on various things.
Well, when cousin Josiah passed away, to our amazement Richard Topham produced a will which made him executor of the Crowley estate and left all the money to him, his wife, and the 2 girls.
Yes, I did read that in the newspaper. Is the estate a large one?
I understand there's considerable money in it. Some of Josiah's other cousins say he told them the same thing he told us, and they are planning to go to court over the matter. But I guess a fight to break the will would be hopeless. Nevertheless, Edna and I cannot help feeling there must be a later will, although, as yet no one has presented it.
Well, I should be leaving now.
Come to see me again soon. I like you, Nancy. You're my saving girl.
You bet I'll come. I like you too. You're a good sport.
Mary, where's our silver teapot?
Why, right there on the tea table. Oh, it's gone. The silver candlesticks. They are gone too.
Do you mean the pieces have been stolen?
They must have been. By those men who bought some furniture from us.
Who were the men?
Oh, Edna, how could we have been so careless? We don't know who the men were. They just knocked on the door and asked if we had any old furniture that we wanted to sell. We'll never get the silver back.
Maybe you will. I'll call the police.
Oh dear, our phone is out of order.
Then I'll try to catch up to the van. What did the men look like?
They were short and heavy-set. One had dark hair, the other light. They had kind of large noses. That's about all I noticed.
Hello, Nancy.
Dad home. I see his car is in the garage.
Your father's in the living room. Dinner will be ready in a few minutes. What tricky thieves? Oh, I hope the police capture them.
They certainly took advantage of those Turner sisters.
Mary and Edna are in financial difficulties. Isn't it a shame that Josiah Crowley didn't bequeath some of his estate to the Turners and to other relatives who need the money?
Yes, it is Nancy. But unless a will written later turns up, that's the way it has to be.
The Turners think there is another will. Wouldn't it be wonderful if it can be found?
I agree. It's well known in town that Mrs. Sopham and her daughters were unkin to Josiah Crowley for some time before he did. Their excuse was that Josiah's eccentricities were extremely trying.
The Tophams have never been noted for any charitable inclinations. However, they did give Josiah a home.
Only because they knew he was going to leave all his money to them. If he'd been Josiah, he would apostrophe have to add there. But when people get old, they don't like change. And probably he put up with things rather than move.
Tell me everything you know about Mr. Crowley.
I remember he said he intended to provide in his will for his deserving relatives and friends. Then, 3 years before his death, the Topham family, who had never shown an interest in him, had a change of heart. They begged him to make his home with them, and at last he consented. Shortly after, I was told he decided to leave all his money to them. Mr. Crowley, though failing in health, maintained a firm grip on life. But as time went on, he became more and more unhappy. He continued to live with the Tophams, but it was whispered about that he frequently slipped away to visit his other relatives and friends, and that he intended to change his will again.
Then there must be a later will.
One day Josiah Crowley became critically ill just before his death. He attempted to communicate something to the doctor who attended him, but his words, other than will, were unintelligible. After the funeral, only one will came to light, giving the entire fortune to the Tophams.
Dad, do you suppose Mr. Crowley was trying to tell the doctor something about another will which he had put someplace where the Tophams couldn't find it?
Very likely. Probably he intended to leave his money to relatives who had been kind to him. But fate yielded him of the opportunity.
Do you think anybody has looked for another will?
I don't know, but I'm sure of this. If another will shows up, Richard Topham will fight it. The estate is a considerable one, I understand, and they aren't the kind of people to share good fortune.
Can't the present will be contested?
I hear that other relatives have filed a claim, declaring they were told another will had been made in their favor. But unless it is located, I doubt that the matter will ever go further.
But the Toffers don't deserve the fortune. And besides, they don't need the money. It doesn't seem fair.
It may not seem fair, but it is legal, and I'm afraid nothing can be done about the situation.
Poor Judy and her aunts.
There are others affected in the same way. For instance, 2 young women who live on the river road. I don't know their names. I understand they were not related to Mr. Crowley, but were great favorites of his. They are having a struggle and could use some extra money.
Dad, don't you believe Josiah Crowley made a second will?
You sound like a trial lawyer, the way you cross-examine me to tell the truth. Nancy, I don't know what to think, but something did happen which might indicate that Mr. Crowley at least intended to make another will.
Please go on.
Well, one day nearly a year ago I was in the First National Bank when Crowley came in with Henry Olsted.
The attorney who specializes in wills and other estate matters.
Yes. I had no intention of listening to their conversation, but I couldn't help overhearing a few words that made me think they were discussing a will. Crowley made an appointment to call at Olsted's office the following day.
Oh, that looks as though Mr. Crowley had made a new will, doesn't it? But why didn't Mr. Olsted say something about it at the time of Mr. Crowley's death?
For one of many reasons. In the first place, he may never have drawn a new will for Mr. Crowley. And even if he had, the old man might have changed his mind again and torn it up.
Dad, Mr. Olsted is an old friend of yours, isn't he?
Yes. An old friend and college classmate.
Then won't you please ask him if he ever drew up the will for Mr. Crowley, or knows anything that might solve this mystery?
That's a rather delicate question, young lady. He may tell me it's none of my business.
You know he won't. You're such good friends, he'll understand why you're taking a special interest in this case. Will you do it, please?
I know you like to help people who are in trouble. I suppose I could invite Mr. Olsted to have lunch with me tomorrow.
Wonderful. That would be a splendid opportunity to find out what he knows about a later will.
All right. I'll try to arrange a date. How about joining us?
Oh, thank you. That I'd love to. I hope it can be tomorrow, so we won't have to waste any time trying to find another will.
We? You mean might try to find a hidden will if Mr. Crowley wrote one?
I might.